waiting for advice for life sciences.
Yeah, I'm already on live on Instagram.
Okay,
Hi
perfect.
everyone. We
Hi.
are starting now going on stream for YouTube.
Yes.
Okay, also. Let me just, here we have YouTube. Let's see. Okay.
Let's go.
It's just to see better
The slides.
the slides here. I think today I have to.
Ah, really?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter. So, yeah. See? Let me see.
Okay, yeah,
So,
it's
yeah,
6
we can
already.
start.
We can start. So,
Hi everyone.
good afternoon or good evening or
Yeah.
good morning, wherever you're tuning from. And hope you had a great week. Today is Thursday, and we have a quick free masterclass about some personal stories of miscommunication, following on the series of communication that we started more than a month ago, and we had like every Thursday a free masterclass on YouTube and Instagram about one aspect of improving our communication skills. And while we are creating this series, we remembered, both of us, me and Katya, stories that happened about miscommunication and misunderstanding in the lab, and we thought of doing a small free masterclass today and to talk about some of these personal stories that we have.
Yeah,
So-
I'm just writing.
Okay, that's great.
Continue, you can continue.
And yeah, so basically we just would like to delve in rapidly here. Which one?
Here. Wait. Here.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, just for those of you who are not familiar with who are we, this is basically Osama. I am the co-founder of Advice for Life Scientists. It's a platform to encourage and to empower scientists that I created with Katya more than a year ago in order to help fellow scientists. So I was a pharmacist back in the day, and I did my master's, my PhD, a couple of postdocs, and I became a team leader in Australia in neuroscience. And throughout my career I had a lot of experience, that not only scientific, that I would like to share with fellow scientists, with all of you in different stages, and that's why we started this kind of platform. And yeah, what about you, Katya?
I'm also a researcher, and well, I started long time ago. I did my degree in biology here in Portugal. Then I moved to Spain, and I was a little bit of everything during my professional career. So as a wet lab researcher in the lab, experiments, pipetting, that I love, I still love. So I started as a lab technician, then I did my PhD. After 2 postdocs, the typical pathway in academia. And after I went to Australia, where I was a group leader and a team leader, whatever you guys want to call. And yeah, and during this professional career, there were a lot of miscommunication, some episodes that were completely miscommunication. And yeah, and
But
now
yeah, so just to, I mean, show you the amount of experience that we gathered, is that I'm talking about myself. I dealt with more than 20 different nationalities that come from all continents of the world, including Australia, because we stayed there for a couple of years. And basically the amount of people working in science from different cultures, if you don't have clear communication with them, there will be a lot of misunderstanding and miscommunication. And that's why from first-hand experience, we had a lot of scenarios and stories that happened in the lab with our colleagues, with our bosses, with our students. And we would like actually to share some of them with you, and in order to really highlight and the importance of effective communication. So what about your experience?
This is what you told now. It's really important because my experience. I'm original from Portugal. I'm Portuguese. Then I went to Spain, and Spain, it's society-wise, values-wise, it's very similar to Portugal, but it's it's different. Yeah. Now, there people are more open mind, more happy. Not happy, but more extrovert.
Yeah.
And so yeah, was my kind of first impact, like other society, first impression. And then, as you said, in science there are different people, international people. I was in Madrid first, and then Barcelona. In Barcelona, there are a lot of different cultures, different people, international students, a lot. There is a lot of English people, North countries like Sweden.
North European.
Yeah, North European. Yeah. So, yeah.
Besides going to Australia as well.
Besides going to Australia, yeah. In Australia, as a group leader, when it was a little bit kind of, I need some adaptation. Like I can start telling my experience. I thought I knew English, okay? When I was in Spain, I was good in English, and my accent, it was better than normally the Spanish that are talking in English. So that is also good, their English, but yeah, I don't have so much accent.
The average person who's working in the lab normally, in Spain.
And then I arrived to Australia, and when I went to Australia, I thought, I will not have problems with English. Wrong. When I arrived there, I thought, oh my God, I don't know if people are understanding what I'm saying.
Even Australians, they have problems amongst themselves from different cities, for example.
Their accent is completely different. The normal words that they use in the daily life, of course, it's like here in Portugal. If you, Osama, is studying Portuguese, and of course, the Portuguese that we are using in the lab, in daily life, it's not the Portuguese that we learn on the books. And and this was, when I arrived to Australia, this was my first
striking.
Yes, it was like, okay, I'm leading a team and I really don't know if they will understand what I'm saying. And so because of that, the first thing that I told them was why I thought that maybe they will not understand me very well, because I was not understanding certain things that they were saying. Like, for example, Avro. Hi, okay, the meeting? Yeah, Avro. I was like, what is Avro? It's in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, yeah.
So what I did was, okay, I will let them know that I don't understand certain words, and tell them, feel free, if you don't understand something that I'm saying, okay, you just tell me, Katya, we are not understanding. Can you explain? So this really worked because,
So, I mean, but generally when you are going to a new country, especially if this country you don't speak the language of this country, there will be the language barrier. But we are not really highlighting mainly the differences because of the different language that you are speaking other than the country. There is a cultural background that makes a difference. So what we want to talk about is mainly miscommunication, not necessarily because of the language, because of other things, and this is what we will discuss today. Of course, I mean language barrier, or for example the difference in level in terms of fluency of a specific language, if it's English, if it's Spanish, if it's Portuguese or French. It will affect the understanding, of course, and it will make a lot of confusion. But also, even if, for example, that your level of fluency of this language that the country is speaking is 100%, there could be still some problems, specifically because of the cultural background. Let's talk about Portugal, for example. We have a lot of Portuguese-speaking people in the country, from Brazil, from other countries that speak Portuguese as their native language. Nevertheless, there is a lot of miscommunication happening between the European Portuguese people who are the citizens of the country and the foreigners who are living and working here in Portugal. So it's not the problem of the language itself, it's the problem of the cultural background, and vice versa. So Portuguese, sometimes they don't understand Brazilian properly. There are miscommunication because of that. It's not the language, they speak the same language. It's basically other things that we will focus on trying today. So why it is important really to have effective communication? What's the importance of effective communication? There are so many reasons why communication in general is very important, specifically in the workplace. And now we are talking about science, we're talking about a research group, we are talking about in the lab. Two important things. The first one would be to have a better knowledge of what the person wants to do or to convey, if it's your boss, if it's your colleague, if it's your student, you know. And the second thing that is very important is not to have any misunderstanding and to make sure that you really clearly understood what needs to be done. For example, if your boss told you about something. So like if we crystallize why communication is important, it would be to gain better knowledge of what is happening or what you need to do or what your student need to do or your boss told you. And the second thing is to really remove any doubt about what you are about to do or something that has been done already. And now the causes of miscommunication. Also, there are a lot of things that we talked about, like for example, the language barrier. For example, if you don't understand the language itself, or
even the language barrier can be a problem in the protocols itself.
Yes.
Because protocols normally are in English, but sometimes people, when they read, they really don't understand all the details or all the words. And this was something that I encountered in one of my teams, that they were really, when we were seeing the protocol, they were saying, no, we are doing everything like it says the protocol. Until we start, okay, what are you doing here in this point? And we find out that what they were understanding was completely different of what the protocol was stating. So this can also be a problem.
It's true.
This is the barrier.
Sometimes even if you are quite proficient in the language, the way that the protocol is being written in another language other than your native language, when you are translating it word by word, sometimes you might do mistakes because originally when it's written, it has a specific meaning, but then when you translate it like word by word, you might encounter certain difficulties. So the protocols is one of the important pieces that happens in the lab, and there could be a lot of misunderstanding for it. But for example, the causes that we are like hovering over for miscommunication would be basically lack of clarity. I mean, why people are confused because it was not clear enough. Either a protocol was not really clearly written enough, or for example, it didn't have enough information or details for the person, even if you understand the language and everything, it didn't have enough details. Like in certain papers, they write the methodology in a way that, yes, you wrote the methods section, but I cannot really do it because it lacks clarity and it doesn't really specify every single step and how you do it exactly. Like for example, spinning, okay, what's the speed, what's the time, centrifugation, you know, like these kind of things are difficult. When you say heat something, a liquid, and then you heat this liquid how many degrees and for how long, you know, these kind of things. Lack of clarity is one cause of miscommunication.
And this is why it is so important if we have the person in front of us, or even in this case that you are talking about the papers, to write, to try to clarify, to ask the person, are you, do you want to say this, or do you mean this? So repeating what we understand, we will know if the person was really saying that. So this is, it will improve the clarity, and we will be sure that we will do something or we are getting the right message.
Exactly. This is one of the approaches to really remove any doubt for miscommunication, is repeating what the person has just said. But this is, of course, if you have the luxury of talking to the person. But in a written document or in an email or something like this, it would be difficult to always to reply, okay, did you really mean this? Or let's, for example, meet on Zoom in order to discuss what you wanted, because I'm afraid I couldn't really grasp what you wanted, or there is a misunderstanding, something like this. So this would be one of the causes of miscommunication. The second one, and it happens a lot, is assumptions. You always assume that the person in front of you understands what you are talking about. or for example has, like, you are assuming that this person, the receiver, and you are the sender, the receiver, has a specific level of knowledge of the topic, not language but of the topic, and you keep talking about certain things, and this person, you didn't know where exactly, if you are in the same page or not. So assumptions is one of the major causes of miscommunication.
Yeah.
And we can discuss like a lot about
this,
about assumptions. But in my life, I had a lot of miscommunication because of assumptions.
Yes.
Like a simple example would be that you would, for example, start a presentation to an audience, and you think or assume that the audience are experts, and they are not experts whatsoever, and you see them lost from the first or the second slide because you assumed that they are experts since they are attending this conference, but you really needed to work on the presentation to make it really accessible for the audience ahead. Or the other way around, you assume that the audience, for example, are lay public, and you make it very basic. And of course, people would be quite annoyed because they are experts in the field, and so this kind of assumptions, you have problems. It happened to me. I was giving a presentation in a conference, and I thought that they were, it was a neuroscience conference, and all of them are experts, but apparently another branch of neuroscience, computational, which is quite distant from the experimental one, the one that I'm working in. And in the coffee break after the presentation, they were asking things that were kind of definitions in the beginning, in my introduction. So this means that they didn't understand everything that I was presenting. So this another cause of miscommunication, which is assumptions.
Here I can give an very quick example that it was in an email. I reply, okay, this person will be here to receive the order, okay? And that person normally wasn't till late. So I assume the person was being there. But the person, okay, that I assume that will be present in the afternoon has to leave that day earlier in the morning because she had a clinical medical appointment. So what I assume was not correct. What happened? There was no one to receive the order. So this is why it's always important before I assume something. What I do now is like, okay, let me talk with that person and ask if the person will be present on the lab, for example. So it's really important to confirm what we are assuming, just to ask if it's really like that.
Sometimes, you were unlucky that it happened, but but again, 99% of the time it's gonna work, but then there is 1% chance that it's not gonna work. And in order really to make sure that it's guaranteed that it's gonna work every single time, you have to remove these assumptions, remove any kind of unclarity of whatever you're communicating, in order to make sure that it is effective and nothing wrong will happen.
Yeah, this is also something that happens often in the area that I'm working in, that is single cell technology. So, for example, single cell technology, I know that we need more than one cell. Normally, right, single cell may some people can think about, I just need a few cells, But no, this is a wrong assumption. So before I was not asking. I was just, you need cells. But then when people arrived to the lab, they had like 100 cells. The cell number was 100, 200. And that is not enough to do an experiment. But of course, why? Because no one clarified with them the number of cells that they need. And this is,
well,
assumption that can really jeopardize.
This assumption has nothing to do with your level in research, because if it's different kind of field, of course you are not expert and you don't know anything about it, and this would be automatically comes to mind. I remember the first time ever I heard about single cell. As the name dictates, single cell means that if I give you one cell, you would be able to do the experiment, right?
No.
So for me, the first time ever I heard this, and I'm a scientist, was this, because you're away from this field, you know.
Yes.
And the other way around, if you talk to an engineer about something in biology, or if an engineer or an architect talks about something very simple in architecture to a neuroscientist, you know, or a lawyer or something like this, sometimes it's difficult, and we assume that these are basics. Anyone walking the street would know it. But no, this is, I mean, you are not 100% sure that everyone knows, or it's common knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important really to remove the assumptions, to make things clearer and avoid miscommunication.
Yeah, and about still the assumptions.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of them in daily life at the lab. For example, we assume that our group leader or supervisor has all the knowledge, that he knows everything. I will not tell anything in the lab meeting because I'm sure that he knows. Completely wrong. I'm a group leader and I don't know everything. So it's like that. This is a basic assumption, for example, that can,
It's
really...
true, and also, I mean, when you go and talk about your project to your supervisor, for example, it depends, of course, but you shouldn't start by saying, as you know, that this I had from last week, you know, the results and stuff like that. Maybe, yes, you already discussed the results with the supervisor before, but the problem is that sometimes, I mean, like, he has or she has, your supervisor, a lot of other students and other things, and 1 week or after 2 weeks of the last discussion, probably they are not remembering exactly. So you have to really spoon feed the people that you're. So I mean, assuming that the person still retains the information that you shared with them several weeks ago is not also the right approach.
Now you remind me something that is also start the presentations telling, as you know. No, forget. Don't start ever like that the presentation, because people don't know.
Exactly.
And when I was in presentations talks that people start like that, I for myself I think, I don't know what you are talking about. So don't start like this.
So we are a little bit talking about. I mean, we shifted a little bit towards presentations and stuff like that, because currently we are doing this 2-week presentation challenge, how to craft a great scientific presentation. And we have 10 amazing participants who are taking the challenge, and we are giving them advice day by day. And in the day number 14, after 2 weeks, learning a lot about how to craft a presentation, how to prepare a good presentation and deliver it. So we are actually sharing a lot of advice with them, and that's why we are really highlighting the part of miscommunication and assumptions when it comes to presentation.
Yeah, the major problem is really the assumption. People assume. It's like preparing the presentation. What we are finding is that the people that are doing the challenge, they assume a lot of things.
That it's common knowledge, for example, you're working in this field and assuming. It's, for example, like when we start every free masterclass, if you already go to our YouTube channel and see the other videos, you will always see that the first 5 minutes we always introduce ourselves. We don't assume that the person who's attending is attending for the second or the third time and knows us. So if you assume this, you will do only an introduction about yourself once, and then every single free masterclass you don't assume. But of course it will be awkward. If we put ourselves in the shoes of the person who's tuning in for the first time, it will be kind of strange. I mean, who are these people? I've never seen them before, and without introducing their names or what they are doing, they just talk about what they are talking about. So that's why it is important to remove all the assumptions, to be as clear as possible in order to remove and avoid any miscommunication. So now the part would be that basically we give you some anecdotes, some stories that happened to us. I will share a couple that happened with me in the lab. And just to show you, this can really affect, and on daily basis, I'm sure that a lot of you, and we would love to hear about them, like write in the comments or share with us. We will be very happy to hear about these kind of stories. So I will share the first story, and then maybe you can share. So one of the first stories that I had, it is funny, and I would like to share it because of that. There are others that are less funny, and others that had grave consequences, but these ones are okay. It's just a funny miscommunication that happened. I had a master student who is Chinese, and back in the day, and apparently I was not very knowledgeable about the Chinese culture or the Asian in general. Maybe if you are from an Asian country, Korea or Japan, you would be more familiar with this culture. I was not super familiar with the Chinese culture, and the other way around. I mean, my master student, the Chinese master student, he also assumed, like it was assumptions, assumed that I also understand what he was talking about, it was a specific experiment that we are doing, and in his project it needed to be 10 certain turned experiments and 10 figures to be attached to the report that he's submitting by the end of his master's year, and before his defense, before writing the thesis. And when I asked him if he attached all 10 figures that are representing these 10 experiments that he did during the year, and he actually replied he did this, And when he did this to me, I thought, okay, I mean, for me, when you are doing thumbs up means yes, it's certain, I did what you are asking me about. And then later on, when I saw the report, just 1 hour before submitting it, I found that he only put 6 experiments out of the 10. Why 6? And I already asked him 2 weeks ago about the 10 experiments, the 10 figures that are representing the 10 experiments, and he told me yes, like this. And after discussing this with him, and I told him that you told me that, he told me, no, I didn't tell you that I put the 10. I told you I put 6. I told him, you never told me that I put 6. You did thumbs up. He told me, no, I didn't do thumbs up. This is in Chinese. This means 6 in Chinese. So apparently they have hand signatures or hand gestures for numbers. So when we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, apparently this is 6 in Chinese, and I didn't know. And he assumed that anyone, when he does this to anyone, will understand that this is 6, and this is 7 for them, and this is 9, and this is 10. After that, I mean, after this happened, I became familiar with how to do numbers with your fingers. I mean, normal people, like everyone in the world, yes, 1 like this, or 2 or 3, yes, but apparently this looks very similar to the Chinese character that is number 6 for them, and that's why they always use it as 6. And when I asked him about the 10 figures or the 10 experiments in the report, he did like this. He meant that he only put 6, but of course he thought that I understood that it's 6, but I understood that it's like excellent and thumbs up. For me, I didn't really matter that. I mean, I thought this is a tail, it's okay. I mean, but then now I remember what he really did. It was really like this, but I interpreted and I assumed that it was like excellent or thumbs up, and he assumed that I understand that this is 6, and he was also unfamiliar and unaware that people outside of the Asian culture or the Chinese culture not necessarily are familiar with these kind of gestures. And it was a miscommunication from both of us. I didn't ask for more details or ask him to confirm verbally, and at the same time he assumed that I understood, and it was kind of stressful 1 hour before the deadline of submitting his report.
Wow.
But yeah, now we are laughing about it, and it was one of the miscommunication stories that I wanted to share about that.
Yeah. So mine, I was in the lab doing a PCR. Okay, I was just for 2 months in Spain, and I was doing my PCR, and suddenly there was a colleague that went to the agarose gel area and told, I want to clean this area. Okay. And then I had there my tubes with the dye, with everything already prepared to load in the agarose gel. But then she told me, we'll clean and I will call you. Okay. And then she came to my place and she told me, puedo tirar? In Portugal, tirar is remove from one place to the other, okay? But in Spanish it's not. So I went with her and I told her, yeah, these are my tubes. And she told me, yeah, puedo tirar? And I told her, yes. And suddenly she picked up the tubes and she put it on the garbage. And I was so embarrassed. I was new at the lab. No. I couldn't tell her, no. So I just turned around and I went to my place. It was just like after 2 months or less. So I didn't speak up. It's true, I should have, but I didn't. So my tubes went to the garbage, the biological garbage. What I did after, I just repeat the PCR. But yeah, that it was like one story of miscommunication. And after some years, I told her, and she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know." So yeah, this is.
So yeah, I mean, it costed you like maybe one day to repeat the experiment again. So
yes.
yeah, sometimes these stories of miscommunication, they are funny, but at the same time, sometimes it gets on your nerves and it becomes very stressful. If these samples were very precious,
I know.
you cannot repeat
course,
it. It's horrible. It's horrible. If it's a very important tissue or sample, can you imagine? It's crazy. So I have actually another something also like. Maybe this one is a language barrier, kind of. I had an Italian colleague. It was like her first day in the lab, and we actually started off really well. And she was very cheerful. She was very nice, and I knew her from the interviews and stuff like that. And I was being nice, showing her around in the lab and everything. And then, all of a sudden, she was telling me, "Die, Osama," like "Die, Osama," and then. Why she's telling me die? And she repeated a couple of times every now and then why she's saying die? I mean, because for me, die is wishing someone to die, right? But then apparently afterwards, not from her, I learned that apparently this is kind of a phrase Italians always mention, but I don't necessarily need to know Italian because I'm not Italian. And she assumed that I understand what she meant, but I didn't. And back then, I mean, she was talking and I was always thinking, why? It's her first day, I didn't do anything. And why she's wishing me to die or something like this. But apparently die, instead of D-I-E, which is the English word for to decease, it's actually die, D-A-I, which is Italian word for means come on, like come on. And apparently, I mean, after this happened, I learned that it's very common. All Italians are using it, but back then I didn't know a lot of Italians, or the Italians that I knew, they were really focusing in order to speak 100% in English. And I started really building up my Italian vocabulary because of this colleague of mine, and now we are laughing about it, of course, but back then it was kind of confusing. It was not very kind of critical or anything, but I couldn't understand until I really got the point. What is it? It was a problem of me because I was kind of embarrassed to ask her why you are telling me this, why you are saying die, because probably if I asked on spot what does she mean by that, I could have eliminated any doubt and make it more clear, right? And at the same time, from her side, it was kind of miscommunication because of assuming that me living, for example, in Switzerland, we were in Switzerland back then, in a European country, anyone from Europe would understand Italians when they are sparkling and splashing Italian words here and there. Of course, there are some that people would know and most of the people would know, but again, people assume more than thank you in Italian or good morning in Italian. This one, it's a common phrase, but you need to be like involved or visiting Italy several times or know a lot of Italians to be able really to understand this word. This is another funny kind of miscommunication story that happened with me.
So my next one. Yes. So it was together with my team, we decided to write a review paper. And we met and I told them, okay, each one should write about the technology, but you should be brief, short text, don't extend yourself too much. And most of them, they did it. After 1 week, I had something like half a page, 1 page. There was a person that was always saying, no, I need more time. And I thought, okay. After 2 weeks, I asked that person, do you have it? No, I didn't finish. And I told her or him, doesn't matter. I told, okay, do you need help? Let me see what you did. If you need help, I can help you. And when I saw the document that this person was preparing, it was already 20 pages. So for this person, short, okay, it didn't mean half a page or 1 page. But at the end of the day, the fault was mine because I told them something short. I didn't tell them the amount of text, the amount of words, the amount of pages. No, I didn't, because I assumed they were used to write something that it was completely wrong from my side, because they were not used to write reviews or papers. So I should have explained really what I wanted and to be clear.
So you were not clear enough?
I was not clear enough.
Okay, and at the same time also you assume that, I mean, short for you, which is half a page, is not short for him or her, you know, so that's the assumptions, guys. I mean, assumptions are fatal, especially in the lab, in critical experiments. So I mean, we learned this the ugly way, and that's why with anyone that I deal with for the first time, first we try, then we trust. You know, like I never assume anything. I have zero expectations, and I really make sure that the person understands everything. And sometimes I ask the person to repeat what they are going to do in their own words in order to be able to make sure, that you understand what we want to do or what need to be done.
Yeah, and mine will be short. So other story was kind of the same, but with a presentation. I asked someone to present in the lab meeting about a new technology. There was a new technology, and I asked that person, okay, can you please summarize and just do some slides, a presentation, very fast, very quick, simple. And after 1 week, the same. No, I cannot present this week. I need 1 more week. The same. What did I find? Because after I was like, okay, I will help you. Let me know what is it, like, what are the challenges that you are facing, and I will try to help you, teach you. Because my aim always with the people from my team is to help them developing new skills. Okay. So, and because of that, I was asking them this. And when I talked with that person explained me that she didn't know how to use the PowerPoint. Besides, she also was like one of kind of the first times that she was reading a paper, reading about technology, and she was facing a lot of problems at the point of summarize everything, do the summary, put it in the clear way, the slides, the PowerPoint slides. So the same. So I assume that that person already know how to use PowerPoint, for example. So, but here there was no problem because I just sit with a person and I explain how she should do. But yes, this is also an example of assumption.
But this is basically like few stories that happen to us from thousands of stories that we encounter every day. I mean, sometimes the miscommunication happens in few moments, you know, on daily basis could be. But we thought of sharing the funny ones with you. But I'm sure that a lot of you... No, I don't have. I will not share others.
I have one. Very fast. This is not about like spoken communication, but... not verbal one, but what you said before, different societies, different cultures,
different backgrounds.
So in Spain, we had a meeting with some PIs, and people that came from France, Germany. So in Spain, everyone hugs, everyone gives kisses, everyone, even if you don't know the person. It's like everyone touch your hand, and so... Of course, in Germany, it's not like that. People keep the distance. And what happened that one of the PIs didn't realize that. So he started hugging and kissing with 2 kisses everyone. So the person that came from Germany and France, they were kind of annoyed, okay? And we start like this, the meeting, but then they understand that they were in Spain and it was not to be offensive or to,
sometimes it can be miscommunication, especially if people are quite embarrassed or shy to talk about it. It can be very off-putting. So can you imagine starting the meeting early in the morning, and you're already annoyed, so you will not be able to really concentrate or anything. And because of all this miscommunication that happens, and we see, because I mean, first-hand experience, being students ourselves, being PhD students, being postdocs, being team leaders, we see this everywhere. I worked in 5 different continents. Katya also worked in several countries and met a lot of nationalities. In the lab, in science, in research in general, this is very common. And that's why we are very excited actually to share with you that we are compiling a course, and we are putting the final touches for this course. It's a very comprehensive course about how to really bridge the communication with your lab supervisor. Specifically the lab supervisor. We are talking also about the lab colleagues as well, your peers, your fellow colleagues as students or postdocs, but we are talking about the lab supervisor, your supervisor in your thesis or your supervisor in your postdoc. How to really be comfortable and confident controlling the conversation with them. This course will be kind of comprehensive course that will help you and really take your communication skills to the next level.
Or even your supervisor when we are team leaders.
Yes.
Because as a team leader, you had a supervisor, I had a supervisor. So all the type of job positions in the lab, research, in science, in research, we always have a supervisor.
You always have kind of a boss that you report to. Even if you are a PI, a team leader yourself, there's always kind of someone that you are reporting to.
Yeah, here lab supervisor can be a postdoc, the group leader, the PI, the director of the institute, the subdirector. So it's all the people that are supervising us independently of our job position.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah.
So this is mainly from the stories that we shared with you about miscommunication, that we experienced this firsthand. And at the same time, with a lot of people that we are meeting, students or colleagues, they always have stories about this miscommunication. And from the feedback of our colleagues and other students, we thought that there is the need for such course, in order really, if there is a training on how to understand others, the other people that you're working with, like this, it will be stress-free. You will be working in a working environment that is very healthy and less stressful, and at the same time you will be able really to increase productivity, because if everything is clear and you know exactly what needs to be done, and people understand you, and you feel listened to and feel heard to, positive, this will actually give you positive vibes, and you will be able really to become productive and happy in the lab.
Yeah, your mental health will improve, because imagine that you find a way to talk better with your supervisor, not to be afraid when you are talking with him, or anxious or stressed with the meeting. So yeah.
So basically this course, we are putting the final touches for this course. It will see the light very soon, early June probably.
Early June.
But we will have announcements for that. We will have early bird registration and everything. So stay tuned for that. And if you have any question about this course or stories of miscommunication, we'll be very happy and delighted to hear them. So write them in the comments, and you can shout out for us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. So you name it. And if we don't have any questions,
if we have some questions.
Do we have anything?
No.
Okay.
Not here.
So we hope that this week was very light, and tomorrow is Friday. Remember to really recharge your battery in the weekend, on the last day. And summer is coming, so we need to really have plans for the summer and enjoy the sun, and the weather is getting warmer and warmer. And for all of you who's tuning in and working in a lab, stay positive, and hopefully everything will work out for you. So
yes. So just let us know if you need something. That's it. We will be available to help always.
Okay. So, take care, and see you next free masterclass.
Bye.
Ciao.
Next week. Bye.